Because millennials are losers, Vice knows they will get some clicks if they give millennials a reason to blame boomers for all their problems. See, what they're saying is that around the same age, when boomers were from 25 to 43, they owned 20% of the country's wealth. But millennials, around the same age, own only 3%. Never mind their data is off and is broken. Let's take into consideration that, you know what, let me stop. It actually is boomers' fault. I mean, boomers raised millennials for the most part, but it's not an issue of millennials being angry that they don't own the wealth. The problem isn't that the system is rigged against millennials. The problem is that boomers raised millennials to be whiny losers who don't go and build things. Listen, man, I get it. I think we need student loan forgiveness to some degree. That does not mean a wipe of everyone's, debt. I think it means eliminating interest rates, make everyone pay on the principal starting now. But that's my general idea. You got to pay back the money you spent, but maybe we can get rid of the interest rates. Listen, millennials were tricked into going to college. You don't need it. It was a waste of time. It taught you nothing. And it's fueled this ridiculous machine of ever-increasing prices, college textbooks. It is a bubble. It will burst. It is bad across the board. It has stunted millennials. So I'll tell you what. You want to be mad at boomers, be mad they kept screeching go to college because they were wrong. I was fortunate enough to know they were wrong and didn't go. It's been great. You know why? Because I didn't go to college. I spent those years, actually I dropped out of high school at like a young age, but I spent all those years doing my own thing, building my own skills, observing, learning, traveling. And I had no debt. So when I needed something, I had to figure out how to get it. Get a job, make some money. Yes, that's what I would do. I even used to play guitar in the subway in Chicago a little bit. That's actually really good money. The best money I've ever made outside of, doing successful media stuff, like career-wise, I've worked for nonprofits, but the most hourly was when I would play guitar out in front of Wrigley Field in Chicago. So you know what happened? While all my friends are in college being told what to do and burning through debt and all this money, I picked up my guitar and said, I know how to play a bunch of songs. Me and my friend would go stand out by Wrigley, and we would play top 40s. And we had people would come out all drunk and happy, and we'd play some Neil Young and some CCR, and they would just start singing and cheering with their, all drunk and yeah, and they're just throwing money at us because we were problem solvers, because we were broke, but we knew, why don't we go jam? Why don't we figure out what needs to be done to earn that sweet, sweet green? Meanwhile, the kids I knew in college were just burning through money, partying. And when they graduated, they're like, oh no, heaven's me. So listen, I get it. College is a problem. But here, Vice is trying to argue that millennials are angry they don't own wealth. Here's what they say. Back in 1989, when boomers were between 25 and 43, they already owned 20.9% of the country's wealth, according to data from the Federal Reserve. Updated earlier this month. In 2019, millennials are between 23 and 38. And they currently own a whopping 3.2% of wealth. Well, hold on. First, your math is wrong. It's possible that from 38 to 43 is when most people start acquiring wealth. Maybe it's because your parents are dying, heaven forbid, but people's parents might be, coming to that age where they're passing away. You're receiving an inheritance, maybe from your grandparents, things like that. There's a lot of reasons why that 5-year gap could explain a huge jump in wealth. But it's also more important to point out that millennials aren't building anything. Yes, if you want wealth, you gotta make it, man. It doesn't just appear out of nowhere. And so it's no surprising that these people who haven't built anything are demanding they take something from somebody else, because millennials tend to be socialists, or at least to a greater degree. I think it's less than half, but still, that's a lot of people. Boomers raised millennials to spend someone else's money, to go to college, to be told what to do, and then when they graduate, they are worthless to a labor market. You know who makes money right now? I don't know, construction workers, plumbers, contractors. Man, I tried building a mini ramp in my backyard. It was so insanely difficult because everybody I called was overbooked. I'm like, these people are making literally as much money as possible. So I started to say, okay, well, what if I paid you more? And they'd say, sorry, we're already overbooked for 8 months. Tried getting the van built, overbooked. But you know who's desperate? Liberal arts degrees. That's great. That's right. Your feminist dance class has made you ineligible for the labor market. But no, I'm joking on that, right? The reality is most of these people are graduating with degrees, but they're still worthless. Let me tell you something, man. You want to be mad at boomers, be mad about college. Millennials are screwed over because they don't know anything. I'll tell you a story. I'll make this as vague as possible. I knew a buddy who ran a business. And he thought that in order to expand his company, he needed some people who are at least college grads. He was concerned that people who are high school graduates just wouldn't have the general social understanding and the business acumen, I suppose, to work in this environment. Turns out they couldn't solve any problems. And every time a problem emerged, he'd get a phone call and a complaint. And he's like, I'm in a meeting. I can't deal with this. Do your job. So he had to fire him. Then he decided, okay, I fired those 2 people. I got to hire 2 more. Same thing he did. He said, if minimum college bachelor's degree required, here's the job. Same exact problem. These college grads came in saying, I have a salary demand because I got to pay back my student loans. And he said, that's fine. And then they said, okay, we'll take the job. He gave him the job. And sure enough, every single time a problem happened, they would call saying, what do I do? And he said, I don't know. I hired you to do this job. If I knew how to do it, I wouldn't have hired you. I'm like, imagine if you hired a plumber and they showed up and said, okay, so how do I fix that pipe? I don't know, dude. You're the plumber. Okay, if I knew how to do it, I wouldn't have called you. So here's what ends up happening. He fires these people. Now he's broke. He's wasted so much money. They haven't gotten the job done. So he just put no college required. He ends up hiring a couple of high school graduates. And it turns out these people moved to California to become famous actors. And he was worried they were going to be, narcissistic, nihilistic, egotistical. But they never called with a complaint. There was never a problem. And he started getting worried, like, they're not calling me about any issues. And they'd always be like, don't worry, boss, we took care of it. And he'd say, but there were no problems? Oh, there were. We figured it out. One client had this problem, and we worked through it. I hope that worked for you, right? Here's what we did. And he was like, oh, yeah, great. Yep. All right, see you tomorrow, man. And he said to me, you know what? These kids who didn't go to college decided for themselves, I have a problem. Here's how I solve it. They wanted to be actors. So they moved to Los Angeles with no college saying, I am going to figure it out. Just like that. No one told them what to do. They chose for themselves. And so what he realized was these other people with college degrees, their whole lives were told what to do. So when a problem arose, they'd look around saying, is someone going to tell me how to fix this? No, no one will. You have to solve your own problem. But these young people who moved to California to be actors were like, I'll figure it out. Don't worry about it. And they were of the mentality, it is better to ask for forgiveness than permission, which is a good thing in many ways and bad in many others. But I tell you what, when you want to run a business, the last thing you want is someone being like, so what do I do? So what do I do? I've hired people with college degrees, masters and otherwise, and I find this to be typically true, that they've spent their entire lives institutionalized, where there was always an authority saying, here's how you have to do the job. We have an exam. Here's your key to tell you how to do the exam. Well, in the real world, when it comes to business and generating wealth, that doesn't exist. If you want to build a mini ramp, guess what? Figure it out. The first ramp we built, we just kind of strung it together. I was like, here's what it's supposed to look like. And it wasn't that great, but hey, it kind of worked. I had some fun on it, but it fell apart. It fell apart because of weathering, not because we built it wrong. We actually built it pretty okay. It wasn't the best ramp in the world, but it was doable. I then contacted a better company, and we upgraded from there. The point is, you want to know why these millennials don't have wealth? It's because they're sitting on their hands saying, but why won't someone do it for me? Well, along comes Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, and otherwise, presenting these far-left policies that won't solve any problems. I tell you this, millennials, you have no wealth. Vice says you have reason to be angry at boomers because of that. Yeah, because they led you astray, not because they own wealth when you didn't. But what do you think happens when you take people who think they deserve that wealth, like Vice is posturing here? What do you think when you take those people, put them in the voting booth? They vote to take wealth from others, but who is making new wealth? Nobody. Now, why did the boomers own the country's wealth? Is it possible that they created some of it? Not all of them. I think you go back in time, you'll find a lot more people creating things. How many millennials have built a house, programmed a video game, drawn a picture? I know a lot have. It's not like millennials are doing nothing, but there's a lot of millennials who literally do nothing. They go to college for what crypto Marxist feminist dance. And then it's like, what are you supposed to do with this? Okay? When you go to school, you get these degrees. It's fantastic that you learned about colonization or whatever, but is that going to help you build a fence? What can you do that someone will want and pay you for? Sorry, college doesn't give you that. More importantly, why are you so focused on working for someone else? You know what, man? Everybody, I get all these emails from people saying they want to work with me. Just do your thing. Start. It's not like I just what do you think I did? I've been doing my own thing. That's all I do. And where I am today is literally due to me being like, I do exactly what I want to do, no matter what. And if that means I'll end up sleeping in the gutter, hey, it's happened before, and I'm going to keep doing my thing. Now, there are some people who don't want to do that. That's fine. You want to get your paid time off. You want to make your salary. That's fine, too. But I tell you what, if you want someone to hire you, they're not going to hire you if you're sitting there saying, what do? I don't know how to do this. How do I solve this problem? Because if I know how to do it, I ain't going to hire you. One of the biggest challenges right now, and I tell you this, man, in the YouTube industry, here's the secret. I've talked to some big YouTubers, and this rings true for myself as well. Why don't we just hire people to produce and edit for us? The reality is, the average person can't do it. They can't. They don't know how to do it. So I'm not going to hire someone who's going to be like, so what do I do? Dude, I'm sorry, man, I can't tell you. If you don't know how to do the job, why would I hire you? What ends up happening then is so few people know how to do these systems, how to run YouTube channels, run social media, how to graphic design and video edit, that they end up just doing it for themselves. It's like, dude, if I know how to do everything to make a documentary, why am I going to hire you to do it? I'm not. I'm just going to do it myself. More importantly, most people I've worked with have always come down to the just tell me what I should be doing. No. If I hire you, it's so that you go do what needs to be done. So you want to talk about why millennials should be mad? Here's a quote. I definitely think millennials have a bunch to be uniquely annoyed about, said Josh Bivens, research director at the Economic Policy Institute. Lots of them graduated into a horrible labor market, and they've probably been very stunted in their ability to get on the treadmill of earning enough to actually save anything. I don't care about the labor market. I don't. You know what? I got to be honest. It's kind of an excuse. Now, not completely. I feel for people who did get legitimate degrees like, STEM fields and stuff, and then the market tanked because of banking and housing and things like that. But I tell you what, you should never rely on someone else's industry to support you. You should never be sitting there thinking, whose pile of gold can I climb up? You should be thinking, can I build my own pile of gold? And I'll tell you this right now. I will tell you a secret. If you're sitting there on your hands, not knowing what to do, go out in your front yard. Find a stick. I mean this serious. Find a stick, a big one, okay? Walk, not too dangerous. Don't go too far in the woods. Go to the woods. Find a big stick. Go to a dollar store. Ask someone to lend you $1 to buy a knife and start shaping that stick into a little boat or into anything, a little man, give it a face. Guess what? You can then sell that for $5. I assure you, if you take that little stick figure and bring it downtown somewhere or to the market and say, I'm selling this little figurine I made, someone will be like, ooh, I'll buy that. That's cool. Congratulations. You found a stick that belonged to nobody. Someone lent you that dollar. I understand you got to get the dollar. That's fine. I don't think it's too hard to get that butter knife. You can go to a thrift store and tell them you're broke, and with this knife, you can whittle something to sell. And maybe they'll spot you because you do need a little bit of that help. That's why I tend to be someone on the left. I recognize that. I recognize as a community, we're going to be like, I'm going to hook you up and get you a little carving knife. And congratulations, you have, from nothing, created wealth. That stick was worthless. You applied an abstract concept to it. Congratulations, it is now valuable. Not the most valuable thing in the world, but you've created art. And a lot of people might say, I really would like to have that. It looks cool. I don't know how to do that. I don't have the time to do that. But you did it, so I'll give you $5. And then someone might eventually say $10. Guess what? A year from now, you will have a chessboard of all the little figurines you made, all the little sets, and then you're going to have some people being like, this is an incredible piece of work. Not only have you become an expert at carving wood into shapes, you've expanded into sealing them with epoxies and polishing them, and you've made custom chessboards and custom, horse figures and statues and designs. You built something from nothing. You created value and created wealth. And then you will see that number go up. But if you spend your whole life saying, why don't I have what they have? You'll never have anything. I'm going to wrap up now. I could rant on that forever. But you get the point. I'll see you all tomorrow at 10 a.m. on this channel.